What is up? This is Dylan from Local Injection, and today I am reviewing the album Shine and Fade by Perth metalcore six-piece Saviour. Now, these guys are one of my favorite bands, so this is probably going to be pretty biased. This is the fifth album from these guys, and also the first with their new guitarist Curtis and with clean vocals from bassist Chris. It was released April 29 via the mighty Grayscale Records, so now one of my favorite bands is signed to one of my favorite labels. The album only has 8 tracks, 3 of which were singles, because it was actually originally intended to be an EP. It's quite a short project with a runtime of about 35 minutes, but a lot of the songs are at least 4 minutes long, and I feel like our attention span these days warrants it. Frontman Brian Best actually wrote much of the album's lyrics during his 2-week isolation flying home to Perth from Melbourne, so a lot of the album feels like it's quite conceptually coherent. On that note, the album has themes of isolation and heartbreak, something which the band has discussed quite a lot throughout their music. Going through the album, the opening track, Younger, has these awesome drum fills in the intro with this busy layered guitar in the verse, and Shantae and Chris's vocals blend quite nicely on this one. It's actually a wonder that they haven't included Chris's vocals before, but I've read in interviews that apparently the band has been in talks about it for years. It's just that they didn't feel the last album, A Lunar Rose, was right to bridge between that older sound. The song is about the fear of getting old and forgetting the good times. There's this really cool line in the song where he says, "Rest where the fight in me whispers," which kind of alludes to this balance between acceptance and defeat with existential crises like inevitable death. That got pretty heavy pretty quickly, sorry about that. This was one of the singles before the album dropped and it blew me away. It's got an awesome music video as well. You should check it out. I will leave a link in the description. Moving on, the next track, Reshape Me, was another single and actually the first before the album dropped. And the original concept for the lyrics of this song were actually written in 2014, which was 2 albums ago. I feel like this one is gonna go off live when they can eventually tour again. One thing I did pick up on this song was the vocals, particularly in the verse, seem a bit crowded and it sounds like it would be quite difficult to perform live. Also, that repetitive note in the breakdown possibly could have had more of a variation to keep things interesting, but all in all, it's a catchy hook and it's a great song. The next track, Racing Home, is about homesickness. Obviously, the effects of the pandemic would have been a huge influence on a band that's already isolated from the rest of the country, being based in Perth. This song has really good variation between the 3 vocalists. There's this really cool fast arpeggiated riff in the verses. It's got a really cool crescendo to the bridge before the 3rd and final chorus, which isn't something Saviour have really done a lot in the past. Usually their arrangements are something along the lines of verse, chorus, breakdown / bridge, which kind of bleeds into an outro, whereas this song they've gone for a more structured pop feel, and it works. Modern Curse is the most upbeat song on the album, even though it's about loneliness. Despite the brutal breakdown and awesome growls in the bridge, it's got this sort of rock feel to it that really keeps the song lively and moving along at a nice pace. This is definitely a track I can see being on the radio and a staple in their live set for years to come. The next track, Tidal Wave, was another single and absolutely blew me away the first time I heard this. You've got these intricate riffs over low chugs and a complex breakdown that is probably the best on the album and possibly their whole catalogue. Lyrically, the song seems to be about the passing of a loved one in a car accident. It's quite a personal story, and for a band like Saviour, which a lot of the lyrics are always close to heart, this was something that kind of took it to the next level, at least for best songwriting. The lyric, "Bleed and the whole world bleeds, you sleep and the world stays the same," refers to this idea that life goes on regardless of what happens to you, which is sad but true, but quite possibly could have been cathartic for Best as he was going through this emotional process. The first thing I noticed about the next track, Black Rosary, is it has quite an interesting meter in the vocal delivery. The vocals in the outro particularly remind me of Dead Butterflies by Architects. You've also got this awesome triplet riff in the bridge when the breakdown hits that is just It's good. Lyrically, it seems to be about staying in an unhealthy relationship that you know you should leave but you just can't. The last line of the song ends quite abruptly with the music, but it actually works quite well in this instance as it reflects this idea of severing ties, I suppose. Moving on, the next track, Cynical, has no vocals for pretty much the whole first minute of the song. It has another unusual meter like Black Rosary and also this softly sung repeated outro, which is something the band has done a lot in the past in songs like Jaded and Little Birds. The only criticism I have with it in this song is that the fade out starts a bit quickly and you're kind of left wanting more, but could have been intentional. Finally, the closing track, Wishing Well, has this really cool passage that kind of fades into the forefront of the mix. You've got this fast technical guitar in the breakdown before this heavy climax, and the song is about hopelessness, probably inspired by the effects of the pandemic. While the song might be quite dark thematically, it does end on somewhat of a high note in the way that best refers to the future as potential to grow and change. The best song on the album, hands down, is Tidal Wave. This song is full of metaphors with great lyrical imagery, incredible guitar work, and the breakdown just blows you away. The best lyric for me would be, I hear the heartbeats through the silent crowd, why don't you show me how, from Reshape Me. I interpret this line as kind of relating to anxiety and being hyper aware in situations where you're surrounded by busy crowds. Best has always had this quite poetic style to his songwriting, and I think this is a great reflection of that. All in all, I would give Shine and Fade by Saviour 9 out of 10. This album is honest, it's passionate, it's mature. It mentions the terms shining and fading throughout the record, so you can tell that it was written with a conceptual project in mind, and as a result makes the album feel more cohesive. Not to mention, the added clean vocals from Chris and the technical guitar work from Curtis is a great step up for the band. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked this review. Check the video in the description, and as always, listen to local music. Peace.